Alright, welcome back everybody. The warm-up, the primer today with the 3 rounds, the GHDs, token bar, and the Russian for sure. File back connected. When I was going through this, didn't get the file saved. Promise we didn't do it. I got 2 partners here today working on this one with me. Going for the 16-minute and it is really apparent to do and really important to do the primer. Maybe not just for like maximum effort or anything like that, but especially that's where we're going to build a lot of that strength and volume and these things at the beginning setup here. Go through, you can see how Aaron has his grips on. He just finished his last set of token on and Russian swings. Each one of these moves is
cereal
endurance, and the rest starts to get eliminated like today. As you go through everything. Last one we had that 5-minute mom with that 1-minute rest. Now today we're taking that away and going through 4 different movements. It's not as intense each movement individually, but the whole thing here really lots of reps, lots of sets. Check yourself mentally and see how strong you are. I decided to take my shoes off just to take a little weight off the feet, a little bit, make it a little bit easier, especially going to these Russian twists. Today, we're going weighted on these. The goal for these is trying to keep your feet and knees tucked in tight. If your feet are flailing around a lot, not that that's a terrible thing, but something you should try to avoid and keep everything tucked in. Works on more of that adduction movement in the lower body, starting to engage more of the core, more through the hip flexors to fall off everything, which creates a lot of people struggle with that lower ab and the obliques. So we got those lower body twists to beat up on those things. Still trying to get as much engagement as you can. See that transverse abdominis, those lower abs, and especially that rotating in. As we finish up this minute, lightweight on the twist, doesn't have to be a ton. Dumbbell that I have, different kind of med ball going through, each and everything like that. These are called sprinter sit-ups. Opposite hand, opposite foot, reaching towards that heel. You can see how some people go harder towards the knee. There's a couple different varieties for this one, but you're just bringing that one leg up, trying to get that full crunch. And more so that full sit-up action because you're really just isolating one set. A lot of times when we do this, a lot of people do 2 feet together, which is not a bad thing, but you always want to mix it up, keep that cross training going, so you're getting as much muscle engagement as possible as you roll through everything. But when you do isolate one side with the other, it builds balance, builds that stability on both sides, so you're not training one side versus the other. That doesn't rather often when you do 2-leg or a barbell, eventually one side ends up being stronger than the other most of the time, and that happens. This one, verse crunch, is one of my favorite. Kick the feet out, tuck them in all the way up. I'm letting my feet drop on this one. Core is definitely already fatigued at this point. If you can keep the feet up as much as possible, but it's not a bad thing to let the hip flexors stretch out and let the lower back relax as you go through. Notice how Aaron and I have our hands not underneath our butt. That is an option that you can do. It does make it a little bit easier. It just makes the levers a little bit more advantageous. Just easier on the lower abs. If you do that, I prefer to keep the hands on the lower back and not underneath your hips or your butt because it is such a scale action and trying to hold things together. So the goal is to try and compress the lower back into the ground with the abs to engage as much as possible. If you need to and the lower back does start to get tight, especially after a lot of movements, pick your feet up a little bit higher off the ground, a little less tension, a little less pull in the low back as you're going through. So that as an option here. Next one, lateral leg splits. This one's going to be all those little hip flexors, working the little muscle on the outside of the hip. The goal would be to get that full crossover and to get that full split of the legs. I know that you can go tight and go really small crosses, but the goal here is to get it opened up, open up the hips, move them in a different direction than you typically do. A lot of people do this. You want to keep that lower back tight. I like to pick my head and shoulders up to really kind of help that, to solidify that position. Again, just like you would on either the Russian twists a little bit, and especially those reverse punches, is to try and keep the lower back tight against the floor. So if you need to kind of hold up your body, even going up to where you're sitting up on your elbows, that is always an option to save that low back. So try and do those things, play around with them, especially when you're almost 2 weeks in. You're going to start noticing that your abs should be getting stronger. They're not quite as sore, even though they still are definitely going to be with this volume. But you notice how you're able to actually kind of push through. Maybe you're hitting sets of 5, 6, whatever it might be, 10 for some of us, but trying to keep the rest as short as possible. So literally as much as you can. This is a massive bodybuilding pump. I think all 3 of us were almost cramping by the end of this thing, whether it's hip flexors or lower core. But you're just trying to fight yourself, right? So you can see me cramp when I'm pulling my quads, in that quad stretch in there. So no matter where your fitness level is, whether you're doing 10 in some of these minutes, whether you're doing 50, or anywhere in between, you're just trying to challenge yourself to get a couple more reps, right? It's always about just do one more. It's not about trying to do, 50 plus reps or whatever you're at, or if you're even counting. Just try and force your body to hang on. If you're down with like 3 or 4 seconds, try and hold on to the end. That way you challenge yourself just to go through. Coming back in, sprinter sit-ups for round 2. This is 4 rounds through, 4 different movements. It is 16 minutes straight. Lots of abs. Pace yourself out so you're constantly working as much as possible. If you don't want to try and sprint and do like 5 or 6 reps and all of a sudden rest for like 20 seconds, especially when you're doing EMOMs like this or Tabatas or something short, these 5-10 seconds that you rest in between add up significantly. So if you can at least do 1 or so at a time during that little rest phase, you'll call it, it's really, really helpful to just do 1 or 2. Your body's still going to recover when you're not constantly in tension, but you're still working, right, as you work through everything. Another option for this one, especially as you're having to be tired, or if you're just simply lacking the strength to get all the way up, try and grab your leg or grab your knee and help get a little pull with that crunch. It's still going to help get your shoulders up. It's going to bring the knee in tight and get that same kind of engagement as you go through. So there you go. Roughly, we're almost about halfway through here. We'll come back into these lateral legs still, so we'll finish halfway. I start throwing in a couple hip bridges. You can always turn around and do a few cobra press ups in between, just to stretch out the hip flexors and the core, especially after, if you're doing the maximum set of GHDs from before. You're anywhere from 54 to 75 GHDs, and then 36 to 60 toes to bar with the Russian kettlebell. So at this point in time, your hip flexors are definitely feeling it, and the amount of time that you're just holding your leg up off the ground. So I'll go ahead and speed it up for you guys to finish this thing out, and I'll be seeing you for Lucky Number 13 tomorrow.
minutes. Any rep that you can do during this time, just think about it as just, frosting on the cake at this point. Still going to be a ton of reps. Force yourself to get there, fight for it, whatever you can do the last 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds just to hang on and finish strong, right? So be proud of yourself, everybody. This was a very, very tough, high volume workout. You guys are working really well, getting stronger, things are starting to move around, so keep challenging yourself every single day. I'll see you guys on the other side. We got a couple days left.